Thank you, General and members of the committee. It's an honor to be here to talk about the Armenian American Museum. We just circulated some photos so you can see what it's going to look like. California has a long history and an important history and a well-documented and successful history of supporting various cultural and educational museums around the state of California. There's a long list, and there's a healthy tradition of us doing so with state funds augmented also by local resources. The Armenian American Museum is proposed for the city of Glendale, and it'll focus on a broad number of issues, including the Armenian genocide, the first genocide of the 20th century, which California proudly and appropriately recognizes. In last year's budget, this committee and the governor and my colleagues in the Assembly, and you were one of them, Mr. Wilk, successfully put in $1 million, which the governor has restored in the May revised. The request today is to have $1 million for the next 3 fiscal years to continue our support of this laudable project to bring education and awareness to both the Armenian genocide and other historical things that need to be highlighted. With me, I have Zaven Kazazian, who is a member of the board of the Armenian Museum, to speak specifically about the merits of the museum.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. As the Senator mentioned, my name is Zaven Kazazian, and I'm here on behalf of the governing board of the Armenian American Museum and Cultural Center. I would like to begin by thanking the State Senate and Assembly for the past support and approval of the $1 million last year's budget for the Armenian American Museum and Cultural Center. The Armenian American Museum is a project in the city of Glendale with a mission to promote understanding and appreciation of America's ethnic and cultural diversity by sharing the Armenian American experience. When completed, the museum will serve as a cultural campus that enriches the community, educates the public on the Armenian American story, and empowers individuals to embrace cultural diversity and speak against prejudice. The Armenian American Museum and Culture Center will expand the network of Los Angeles County museums that combine the lessons of the experiences of a specific group of California immigrants with the vision of preventing discrimination and improving collaboration between the citizens of our state. The city of Glendale and the museum's governing board, consisting of 10 largest Armenian American nonprofit institutions operating in the western United States, are collaborating on building a world-class museum in the city's arts and entertainment district across the Central Library on Colorado Avenue. The project will be consisting where the city will be building a parking structure that the city needs on the south side of Glendale immensely, and the museum is going to be built on top of the parking structure, and the Armenian American Museum will be leasing that from the city of Glendale. The Museum and Culture Center will be a place of remembrance, learning, and community. One of the nice things about this museum, it's not going to be strictly for Armenians only. Half of the exhibit space will be for Armenians. On the other one will be a traveling museum expressing all the different cultures. We have a substantial Filipino, Latino, and Korean communities in Glendale, and other communities will be able to share the other half of the community of the museum. What we would like to do is have a collaboration between the different cultures in the city of Glendale, but expanding throughout the state of California. There will be a theater, and the theater is going to also be one that's going to be rented out to different communities so that they can come and express their cultural diversity and enhance that understanding between the different cultures. As you all know, is the fact that one of the quickest way of understanding a different culture is through the food. And we're going to have a kitchen, a demonstration kitchen, where the different cultures will be able to demonstrate their cooking and also making their food available to the public. Again, I thank you very much for considering this proposal, and I thank the Senator for bringing it here, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, before I round robin it for comments, perhaps you can, obviously, this is one of those that we need to put in the line and have a conversation about between now and the first part of next week for prioritization purposes. Our staff report indicates that this additional $1 million augmentation, when added to what's in the budget, will give $2 million for the first year and then $1 million for 2 years after that?
The way I see it is last year's budget had $1 million, which the governor had removed, but then put back.
Right,
So that's last fiscal year.
okay.
So what I'm asking for is $1 million in this fiscal year, next fiscal year, and the following fiscal year for a total of a $4 million state investment.
Okay. Finance will clarify where we are with that.
That's my understanding, so they may see it differently.
What's the plan for the use of the money? Is this to do architectural drawings? Is it to do, maybe you mentioned it and I missed it. Is it to do studies? What are we doing with?
Well, this is going to be primarily for architectural drawings, design and outreach programs, and also what we need to do is substantial amount of community discussions, because we do need to do CEQA studies as
Right, a lot of it goes to the environmental documents that are necessary when you build something of this size in a downtown area. And it's to
assume that-
augment the local city efforts as well.
I assume there's a written plan that has
There
dollars
is.
attached to it that somebody's reviewed.
There is, and the
Okay.
city of Glendale is working in concert with the nonprofit, which again, the exciting thing is getting the 10 largest Armenian community organizations around the state to participate in one effort in and of itself is, and Scott understands that.
This is very impressive.
Yeah, it's a beautiful project, and so with the city's support, the state support, the local support, and then the 10 largest nonprofits working in concert, the road for success is here.
Good. Finance?
Tiffany Garcia, Department of Finance. So what actually happened is there was $1 million put in the Natural Resources Agency's budget for this project. The governor had to remove it at Jan 10 because of the revenues, and now added it back for 17, 18 $1 million at May revise.
So then if, as we move through this process, the staff report then is in fact accurate. So if there is another augmentation of $1 million, it would be $2 million for 2017-18, and then $1 million in 18-19 and 19-20.
That is correct.
Has finance seen the pro forma that details what the money is used for and why $1 million as opposed to 5 or?
I actually have not seen, that's not in my budget. It's handled in the Resources Agency, so I don't think you hear that. But I can definitely talk to my colleagues and check in with them.
Okay. LAO, any comment?
Nothing to add.
Colleagues, any questions? Senator Glazer.
Thank you all. This sounds like a wonderful project with great meaning and purpose. What I don't see here, and I'm hoping to get some understanding, is that there is a larger budget to construct this whole
Correct.
project, and there hasn't been any comment about, except for the exception of the land costs that are being provided by Glendale. Where else is the money to come from? Is this the start of a continuing appropriation from the state, or you see this as this gets it off the ground and private fundraising is going to take us across the finish line? But could you speak to that?
Yeah, my understanding, and I think Zavan would concur, is that there is a significant local fundraising effort that is ongoing, and having the state be a participant gives that effort even more wind. So the overall budget is about $20 million for this. So I'm not asking the state to fund the full amount. I think it's important for the state to show the support and the investment proportional what it's done with other museums around the state. So that's my goal, is to give the local effort sort of the shot in the arm that the state supports this, but the locals will bear the biggest burden of finishing this project.
Right, and so what I take from that is that it's a $4 million investment to create a $20 million beautiful museum
Correct.
to make the state proud, and I just wanted that context, I think helps the case. Thank you.
Senator Wilk.
No question, just comment. I'm ABC, Armenian by choice, so I'm supportive of this, and I want to give my thanks to you, Senator, for bringing this forward.
I love your mother-in-law.
She loves you, too. I tried to talk her out of it, but didn't work. I think this is really important. I mean, if anybody goes to Yerevan and tours the Genocide Museum, you will see that the Nazis took their playbook from the Turks back during that genocide. So I think it's incredibly important. Additionally, things that we learn in school are not necessarily true. I always taught that Galileo was the first one to discover that we revolved around the sun and not the other way, but the Armenians did it 700 years earlier. So I think this is important, again, to build unity in our culture, to people to understand one another. And I really appreciate the demonstration kitchen because the Greeks claim that it's their food, it's our cuisine. And so we'll be able to prove that with our demonstration kitchen. So I will be supportive of this when it comes before us. Thank you.
Senator. Any public comment?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the committee. My name is Haig Bagdasarian, and I represent the Armenian National Committee of America's Western Region, which is the largest Armenian American advocacy organization in our nation and chapters throughout the state. Here to wholeheartedly support the request made by Senator Portantino. I'd like to thank his efforts. This is a very worthwhile project, as you've heard. California is home to the largest number of Armenian Americans in the nation, about half the population, close to 1 million strong, and Glendale has become the hub of that community. So it's a very appropriate place to establish such an institution. It's a bridge building opportunity, an opportunity to educate one another, learn more about one another, which is something we definitely need. So I ask that you support this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Any other public comment? Great presentation, sir. Look forward to working with you over the next few days as we move through this process. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to your effort.